जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जबिहारी जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जबिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्जबिहारी जय यशोदनन्दना जय जगजनरञ्जना जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जबिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी जगन्नाथ जय बालदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय प्रभुपादा श्रीला प्रभुपादा जय भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपादा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुब्रह्मण्य की जय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, looking at verse number 32 in chapter 6. I'll just read the verse. आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः Translation Atma with his self, Aupamyena by comparison, Sarvatra everywhere, Samam equally, Pashyati sees, Yaha he who, Arjuna O Arjuna, Sukham happiness, Va or Yadi if, Va or Dukkham distress, Saha such, Yogi a transcendentalist, Paramaha perfect, Mataha is considered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Purport: One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist of the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Achatasman Manusheshu Kashin Me Priyakrittamaha. Bhagavad Gita 1869. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasade Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Once again, a warm welcome to all the devotees. So we're looking at verse 32 in chapter 6. And this chapter is entitled Ashtanga Yoga, which emphasizes on controlling the mind by concentrating it on Paramatma and ultimately attain the Supreme Lord. And in this section of the chapter, which is from verse 24 to 32, the matter of attaining perfection in Ashtanga Yoga is mentioned. And particularly in the previous verse and in today's verse, it talks about how a perfect yogi behaves. In the previous verse, it specifically talks about the actions about a perfect yogi who tries to see Krishna in everything. Though he is present in all the living entities, he tries to see Krishna as one, though present in many living entities, in all the living entities. And in today's verse is talking about, Krishna is talking about the idea that one should see the universal spiritual nature of the spirit soul, irrespective of what body the living entity is present in. Right? And that we should consider the happiness and distress of all the living entities as his own. And the living entity may be situated in different types of bodies. He may be situated in a king, or in the body of a king, or he may be situated in the body of a monk in the stool. It doesn't matter. But the bodily designations have no bearing on the ultimate nature of the living entity. And Srila Prabhupada talks about various things in the purports. We'll try and understand those different things. The first thing that Srila Prabhupada says is that one who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. And Krishna corroborates this fact in the last verse of this chapter, actually. It's as if Krishna is actually trying to fool the people who believe that the physical process of yoga system is the best. And chapter 6 is actually one of the big chapters that we have. And the whole chapter, Krishna talks about various things as to how we should sit, how we should meditate, how to control the mind, and various things like that. Right? And just when we were thinking that this process is the best, and come the last verse, Krishna says that for your information, the best yogi that is there is actually the bhakti yogi. One who is fully devoted to me is actually the bhakti yogi. Right? So it's not to say that the other processes of self-realization are not authentic, but it is just an acknowledgement to say that the process of bhakti yoga is really the most practical and sublime in this day and age. Right? And the other aspect is that all the other processes of self-realization are more or less dependent on the personal ability of the practitioner. Right? But whereas the process of bhakti yoga is completely dependent on the idea of surrendering unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master and surrendering completely unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? And for example, the success of a mystic yogi, for example, is dependent on how well he can perform the yoga, how well he can control the mind and things like that. As a Jnana yogi, the success is primarily dependent on how much knowledge you can gain by understanding the philosophy in using various logics and reasons, and how much detachment you can develop. Really. But as a bhakti yogi, the success is dependent on, as you said, on surrendering unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master and the Lord. Right? And whom do we want to rely more on? We as individuals who are prone to commit mistakes and all that, or do we want to really depend on the Supreme Lord and His devotees who are infallible actually? We can ask ourselves. So, and the important thing is to note also is that the success of any path in any path is actually dependent on Krishna himself. Right? It's dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And Shudeva Goswami says this very nicely in these prayers in the 4th chapter of 2nd canto. Tapasvino dana para yashasvino manasvino mantra vidasu mangalaha kshemam na vindanti vinaya darpanam tasmai subhadra shabase namo namaha. Sukadeva Goswami talks about 6 different types of people in this verse. And he says that the success of all these different peoples, all these different types of people, is dependent on dedicating themselves to the Lord. He talks about tapasvi. We know the word tapasvi, one who meditates on the Lord. And so Prabhupada translates it as great learned sages in translation. That's tapasvi. Danapara, there are many people who are expert in charity, in giving out charity. This is the great performance of charity, that Prabhupada translates it as. And Yashasvino, great workers of distinction. There are many people in this world who are expert in their field of knowledge, in their area of work. They are so expert in this world. There are many people like that. So they are Yashasvino. And the next class of people are Manasvino. These are the great philosophers and mystics. There are also great philosophers in this world, as we know. They perform various theories and philosophies and whatnot. And the next class of people are Mantra Vidaha, the great chanters of Vedic hymns. There are expert Brahmanas also who are very expert in chanting the Vedic hymns, the Vedic mantras. They follow this thing called Jata. They recite the same mantra again and again. And the Jada means the braid of the ladies. It's curled like this, right? So they repeat the same mantras again and again just so that they can remember it nicely and repeat it nicely. So there are many Brahmanas like that who are very expert in chanting the Vedic hymns, right? And Sumangalaha, the great followers of Vedic principles. Again, there are many people who are dedicated to following the process of Sandhya Vandana, for example, offering oblations to the sun god, offering oblations to the forefathers. Like this, there are so many people who follow these Vedic processes. They perform yajna every day. Nitya Agnihotra sacrifices they follow. So there are different people like that also who follow these Vedic principles and rituals very expertly. And Sukadeva Goswami says that none of these people can achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord, right? So as I said, irrespective of what process we follow, the success is actually dependent on the mercy of the Lord. We have to dedicate all our activities to the Supreme Lord. Only then our endeavors will find perfection really. And in other processes, the results and the efforts have to be dedicated to the Lord as a formal offering. Right? We say that Krishna or whatever. They have to formally offer the results to the Lord. But in the process of bhakti, we see every activity that we perform is a direct offering to the Lord. We take any activity like chanting or reading or offering bhoga, decorating the Lord, decorating the altar. All these activities, the only reason we do them is to please the Lord. And we offer all these activities directly to the Lord. You see the difference? So that's the speciality of Bhakti Yoga. And if we study everything like this very carefully with logic and reason, we will again come to the understanding that this process of Bhakti Yoga is the best method actually. And the next thing that Sri Prabhupada talks about is that he says that the devotee is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. And it is true, right? We all have experiences of happiness and distress. And we also observe that other people also experience happiness and distress. And the specifics may differ, but the result is actually the same. Right? And how do we behave? How should we behave when we see others in happiness or distress? It is advised that when we see others in happiness, we should also feel happy for them. Right? Parasukha sukhi. And when we see others in distress, we should feel the pain ourselves also. Paradukha dukhi. Right? And but frankly speaking, more often than not, we behave in exactly the opposite manner. Parasukha dukhi and paradukha sukhi. When we see others flourishing, we tend not to be happy. And when we see others in pain, we feel happy. We may not be happy. We may not show it grossly, so externally, but how we feel internally is what matters. Is when we see, for example, a relative or a friend of us, ours who we think are equal to us, if we see them buying a big property or something, there's a small pinch in the heart. Say this guy is buying such big properties, big things, and I'm not able to buy. Like you see, we question ourselves whenever these things, whenever we encounter such situations in life, and we observe ourselves as to how we are reacting to those situations, how the heart is feeling when we encounter those situations. Then we will know whether we have progressed in devotional service or not. Right? And whether we are genuinely feeling happy when others are progressing or not. And when we see others in distress, are we also feeling the distress, or are we being indifferent to their distress? And we can ask ourselves these questions. And worse than feeling the pain of others is that sometimes we ourselves become the source of pain to others. And when I say others, for me at least personally, when I say others, we must actually include our family members also in this. Because our interaction levels with the general with the other people, especially in these day and age, is very minimal. We tend to behave nicely. We tend to put forward our best feet, so to say. We try to be nice to them. We don't try to offend them. We act in a nice manner. Right? When I say act, I don't necessarily mean that we pretend. We actually genuinely want to respect them. We genuinely want to not offend them because we think that they're devotees and all that. But when it comes to our own family members, that level of emotion is missing actually. We don't feel that same level of emotion. We think that either because of the principle of familiarity, contact, or whatever, we don't extend the same level of respect that we extend to the devotees in general. Right? So for me personally, that is the test. The way I respect my wife and child as devotees, and don't see them as someone else, as non-devotees, for example. That day, I know that I have progressed in devotion service. And no doubt it is very challenging because in a family setting, there's a lot of provocation. You're dragged into so many situations that you don't wish to be part of, right? And you're forced to react also. But a devotee who tolerates them, tolerates such provocations, and continues to behave in a gentle manner, such a devotee will progress actually. As I said, it's not very easy actually. It requires a lot of practice. At our stage, at least at my stage, we know that it requires a lifetime of practice actually. Right? And I also know that it is not a utopian topic. It is not a utopian principle that I can never reach, because I have examples in my own life that I can look up to, get inspired and follow. I have examples of like Dev Prabhu, Swami Prakash Prabhu. All these devotees are there that I know that they are behaving in the right manner, and I can look up to them and feel inspired and follow in their footsteps actually. And is it a wonder that when we hear these devotees, we hear sublime realizations, isn't it? It's because they have assimilated what they have learned from Bhagavatam, what they have learned from the spiritual master, and that comes out in the behavior, how they behave with everyone actually. Right? And Bhagavatam also gives us further clue as to how we should behave with others. It is said in 4834 that Gunadhikan Mudam Lipset, Anukrosham Gunadhaman, Maitrin Samanat Anvichen, Natapayat Abhibhuyate. Says that every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. And instead of feeling jealousy, instead of feeling that he's greater than me, he cannot be like that. And we try to find fault in that person. If we know that he's better than us, we try and find some fault in him or her, and to prove to ourselves, not to anyone, but to ourselves that he's actually not that great. So instead of that, Narad Muni says that when we meet someone who is more qualified than us, we should be very pleased to meet them. We should actually take that as an opportunity to learn from such devotees and imbibe the qualities that they have, and that way purify ourselves also actually by following their example. Right? And the next thing he says that when he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. In the material world, generally, when we come across someone who is lesser than us, we look down upon them. And we think that, yeah, this guy is nothing really, we don't have to care about him, for example. We don't pay attention to him, for example. So instead of that, Narada says that when we meet someone less qualified than us, we should be compassionate towards them. And especially senior devotees, we see that they give their association to us. Right? So that's the way we should behave. We should follow their example that when we see new people, for example, coming into the center or whatever, we should try to give time to them. We should try to spend time with them, explain to them about the process, and explain to them, encourage them to come to the programs or take up chanting and things like that. And we know ourselves how we have benefited by such behavior of other devotees. Right? So we should also do the same thing. And he says that, Narada says that when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. Right? When we meet someone equal to us, we should be friendly with them. Instead of being again envious or jealous or whatever, we should be friendly with them. So in this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. That's what Narada says as a formula to escape from the effect of the three modes of material nature. Right? And the next thing that Srila Prabhupada talks about is that he says that the cause of distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. The living entity, the moment he comes out into this material world from the mother's womb, he is influenced by the illusory energy of the Lord. And he starts identifying himself with his body and its settlement, happiness and distresses. And the jiva, he forgets his constitutional position, that his constitutional position is one of eternity, complete knowledge, and complete bliss. Right? And that he is the eternal servant of the Lord. He forgets all these different things. And the living entity prays like this wonderfully in Bhagavatam. Kapila says, Yanmaya yoru gunakarma nibandhanesmin samsarike paticharam sarvabhishamena nashta srutir punarayam pradunita lokam yuktya kaya mahadano grahamantarena. Says, the living entity is put under the influence of material nature and continues a hard struggle for existence on the path of repeated birth and death. This conditional life is due to his forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, without the Lord's mercy, how can he again engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord? And this is what the jiva prays when he is in the womb of the mother. Right? And Sri Prabhupada says in the purport that we may put forward the argument that why am I put under this illusory energy of the Lord? Why is that? And Prabhupada himself answers the question. He says that he quotes 15:15 of Bhagavad Gita and says that Krishna, who is present in the heart of every living entity, is actually the reason for one's forgetfulness or remembrance of him. Right? So it is actually Krishna himself who is making us forget our constitutional position in that sense. Right? And why does the Lord do this? It doesn't sound right to us. And the reason the Lord does this is because at some point in time the living entity wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. So Krishna, being the merciful Father that he is, he creates this material world for us and he puts us in this material world. And again, on top of that, he puts us under the influence of the material energy of the three modes of material nature. Why he does this is because if he does not put us under the influence of these material modes, we cannot really enjoy, so to say. Because if you think about it, if the modes are not present, it means that we will be under, if we are not under the influence of the illusion image of the Lord, it means that we will be in complete knowledge, isn't it? If we are in complete knowledge, we will know what our eternal constitutional position is, which is the eternal servant of the Lord. And when we know that, why would we want to have a so-called enjoyment? We wouldn't want to, isn't it? So that's the reason why Krishna puts us under the influence of this illusory energy, so that we can forget our constitutional position and try to gratify our silly desires. So, So that's the reason why he does that. But he also gives us the Vedas and all the scriptures for the benefit of the living entity. He also gives us the royal road as to how we can behave while we are present in the material world while trying to fulfill our desires. You know? And but using the various divisions of the Vedas, we can actually perform various religious activities, and through that we can fulfill our desires. And after we are fed up with all that, using the Jnanakanda section of the Vedas, we can also realize our transcendental position and again strive for liberation or various other processes like that. So what the problem comes is that when we come to this material world, the illusory energy is so strong that we forget ourselves actually. We are completely lost in it. And the Lord says that it's impossible to come out of the influence of this material energy. And under the influence of these three modes and the various permutations and combinations of these material modes, the jiva performs various pious and impious activities. And he again either enjoys or suffers the results of such activities. And this goes on perpetually. But only when the living entity takes complete shelter of the Lord that he will be able to come out of the influence of this material modes actually. And Sri Prabhupada continues to say that the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being. So while the illusory energy of the Lord is difficult to overcome, right? It is difficult to overcome. There is, however, a way to come out of it, right? And Krishna himself gives us the clue to it. He says in 7:14, and that's what Sri Prabhupada quotes in today's purport also, that Daivijesha Gunamayi Mamamaya Turatya Mam Evaye Prapatyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. Says that this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that's one clue that we have. This divine energy of mind is very, very difficult to overcome, really. It's not possible for normal people to overcome the influence of the modes. Right? And Krishna says the same thing again in another chapter in Bhagavad Gita, in 14:26, which is chapter on the three modes of material nature again. He says that Mamchiyo Abhivicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samiti Tetan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. He says that one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Again, the same thing that Krishna is saying as to how we can come out of the influence of the three modes of material nature. In the first verse he says, Mam eviye prapadyante. In the second verse he says, Mam shiva vibhicharena bhakti yogena sevati. Two very similar things that he says in two different verses. But the effect is the same actually. That we can overcome the influence of the material modes of nature. Right? So in order to overcome the influence, as I said, all we have to do is surrender unto the Lord and engage in his devotional service. But the service must actually be performed under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, right? Who is a devotee himself. And when we approach the Lord and serve him through bhakti under the direction of a spiritual master, Krishna becomes very pleased actually. And it is very difficult to reach him on our own ability. But we need a preceptor who can actually dig out the anarthas in us, show us to them, and also show us a path to come out of those anarthas. It's just like how, for example, in the material world, if you want to become a good sports person, for example, you take a football player or a tennis player or whatever. And all these different sports persons, they have coaches, isn't it? They are great players, but they also have different coaches, is it? Because the coach studies the behavior, the strengths and the weaknesses of the player, and he designs a method by which the player can overcome his weaknesses and plays to his strength. Right? In a similar way, the spiritual master also knows us, he studies us, he knows what is our nature, right? And keeping that in mind, he gives us very specific instructions through which we can actually overcome our weaknesses also and progress in the path of bhakti, right? So that's what we have to do, that we have to perform this devotional service under the direction of a spiritual master. And we also have to remember that attaining perfection is not the goal of our life, right? But we always try to please the Lord and His devotees to the best of our ability. That should be our goal actually. Attaining perfection is not the goal of our life. Right? The next thing that Prabhupada talks about is that the perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by modes of material nature is subjected to threefold miseries due to the forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada goes on to say that such a devotee is actually the best philanthropist in the world, and Krishna likes him the most. Right? Nachitasman manusheshu kashyame prayuttamha. And Srila Prabhupada is in this section. Srila Prabhupada is talking about the compassionate nature of the devotee, right? And this the devotee who has benefited from the knowledge that he has received from others, either from the spiritual master or other devotees, and he also wants to share this knowledge with others. And the nature of knowledge is that it is best understood when it is explained to others. Actually, even when we are studying, for example, we remember that topic the best when we explain that to other people, isn't it? So in the same way, the spiritual knowledge also, we realize it better when we share that knowledge with others. Spiritual Master said that one who reads Bhagavatam will never understand or realize it, but one who preaches Bhagavatam will understand it. Right? Because this knowledge is directly connected to Krishna, everyone feels complete peace actually, and it satisfies the hankering of the living entity. And it said in Bhagavatam 2.3.12 that Jnanam yada pratinivruta gunor vichakram atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangaha kaivalya sammata padhasvata bhakti yogaha ko nirvruto harikatha suratinna kuryat. It says, transcendental knowledge in relationship with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to it being free from material attachment. And being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? And again, the modes, the waves and whirlpools of material modes. Just as how there is no end to the waves, there is no end to the influence of the modes. And while the waves are not that dangerous, the whirlpools are actually very, very dangerous. It's very difficult to come out of their influence actually. The modes are also like that. Right? So the more we try to come out of the influence of the whirlpools, the more we get dragged into it, isn't it? So the whirlpools are like that, and while it is difficult to overcome the influence of the whirlpools and all, or the modes, they can be suspended, as the verse says. Just as how, for example, in the office or in the school, if we commit some mistake, they suspend us for some time. It's not that we cease to exist or we cannot go back, but it's just that we are suspended for some time. Like that, the modes also will never go. They will continue to be there, but we can suspend them from our lives, right? And such power comes when we develop knowledge about the Lord, right, and not otherwise. And because Krishna Katha is devoid of this material inebrities, it completely satisfies us. And I'm sure many of us have experiences when we hear speakers like Devi Prabhu. These devotees, they have the ability to manifest Krishna
in our hearts while they're speaking, right? And when we hear them speak, our hearts are completely satisfied, isn't it? We experience this many times. So that's the effect that we're talking about. It is pure unadulterated harikatha, right? And the verse says that who would fail to get attracted to such harikatha, really? And such is the nature of harikatha. And when we share this such knowledge about Lord Hari with others, everyone gets benefited. And the bonus is that Krishna is also pleased with us. And that's what Prabhupada quotes in today's verse, Nachatasman manusheshu kashin me priyakruttamaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the last chapter. Right? There is no one more dearer to him than one who shares his knowledge with others. Right? And Prabhupada says that, in other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of other living entities, and in this way, he is actually the friend of everyone. So we will share what we have with others only when we have the welfare of others in mind, not otherwise, isn't it? And if we don't care about the plight of others, we will not try to share this knowledge with others. And this quality of compassion, as I said, is a very important quality that we should develop, that we should endeavor to develop with a deliberate intention as devotees, actually. Right? Without this quality, we are incomplete as devotees. And this is one of the qualities that Krishna likes very much. In Bhagavatam, it is said 4:31-19. It's very nicely said. Daya sarva bhuteshu santushtya ena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushyatyashu janardanaha. He says, by showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or the other, and restricting the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. And the same thing is mentioned again in one more verse in 4:11-13. It says, Tidikshaya karunaya maitriya chakhila jentoshu samatvena cha sarvatma bhagavan samprasidati. It says, the Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. Right? So there are two words that are common in these two verses. One is, in the first verse, the word is daya, the mercy, the word mercy, right? And the second word, the synonym for that in second verse is karunaya. So daya and karunaya both mean the same thing, that mercy, right? And the second word that's common between both the verses is sarva bhuteshu in the first verse and akila jentushu in the second verse. So both actually mean that all living entities. So a devotee has to show his mercy and all the other qualities that we talked about to all living entities, not just human beings, but all living entities, really. So these qualities attract the attention of Krishna, actually. This quality of compassion attracts the Lord very much. And Prabhupada emphatically states in many places that the best way to show mercy to other living entities is by distributing this knowledge of Harikatha with them, right? And also by chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And by chanting not only us, but all the living entities, not just human beings, but all the living entities present in any different types of bodies are benefited as long as the vibration touches them, actually, right? And Uddhava says in Bhagavatam, Punati Bhuvanathrayam, all the three worlds are purified when the gopis sing the glories of the Lord loudly, right? So that's the effect. So we simply don't know the effect of Harinam, actually, how it affects other living entities. Guru Maharaj also always used to like to cite the example of the Harinam parties. Especially the Harinam party that happens in the Oxford Street in London. And he gave us example that once it so happened that our devotees are going through the Oxford Street in London doing Harinam, and the PM of Mauritius happened to be there for shopping, right? And he heard this Harinam, and Mauritius, if you know, most of them are Hindus, and the PM was pleasantly surprised to hear Harinam in London, on the streets of London, really. So he approached the devotees and he asked them who are they, what do they do, where are they located, and all that. And he got the address of the temple, and he went to our temple. And it so happened that Prabhupada was present there at that time. So the PM met Prabhupada, and he invited Prabhupada to Mauritius, actually. But Prabhupada kept a condition that, I will come, but you should donate some land to us, so that we can build a temple. So So the PM agreed to it, and after he went back, he did donate some land, and we managed to build a temple. So Guru Maharaj used to say that, just out of that Harinam party, a temple and a community of devotees manifested in Mauritius. You know, so like this, we don't know how this Harinam affects us. Actually, it seems to be a simple activity of devotees going around the town, and we may think sometimes that no one really is observing us, and no one really cares about us, and we're just doing our thing. But we just don't know how other living entities are benefiting by just hearing Harinam actually. And even my own Guru Maharaj actually, the way he was introduced to devotees is actually through Harinam parties in Oxford Street. So, and we don't know how many living entities got benefited out of that, really. So, and Prabhupada continues to say that he is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries to benefit others also. And Prahlad Maharaj is the best example of this quality. And Narad Muni, Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual masters, all these great personalities are also great examples of these qualities. They wanted other living entities also to benefit from this knowledge, right? And for that, they also underwent so many trials and tribulations. And Srila Prabhupada, he could have been content staying in Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, but no, he was not satisfied with that. His heart was always burning with a desire to preach this knowledge to people in the Western countries. It's an order that he received from his spiritual master also. But he was always constantly looking out for opportunities to distribute this knowledge to others. Even while he was present in India, actually, if we read Lilamrita, we see how many attempts he made actually. League of Devotees in Jhansi, Bat Godhead magazine. He used to write the articles, get them printed, proofread them, print them, distribute them. Again, do the same thing. Go around the town distributing it. He used to do all that alone. And there was no one looking at him and praising him for his activities. He was not doing it for praise or name of glory or anything like that. His only intention was to distribute this knowledge to other living entities so that they can also be benefited, right? So, and he continued doing it till the very last moment of his manifest presence in this world, right? So Prahlad Maharaj says in Bhagavatam 7.9.43, Naivo dvije paraduratya vaitaranyas Tvadviryagayana mahamrutamagna chittaha Shoche tato vimukhachetasa indriyartha Maya sukhaya bharamudvahato vimudhan. He says, O best of the great personalities, in Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Narasimhadev, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in your thoughts, in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. And this is exactly the mood of Prabhupada actually. It feels as if like this purport, this translation is actually a personal note of Srila Prabhupada's feelings himself actually. Right? That's how I felt. So that's the mood of the devotees of the Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj is an embodiment of this quality of compassion that we spoke about. And he also see equality in all the living entities. The living entities, he did not distinguish between different living entities based on their bodily designations. There are so many differences that we can think of. You can think about white body, black body, brown body. Strong, weak. You can differentiate living entities based on all these different qualities actually, right? Beautiful, ugly, Indian, Singaporean, human being, demigod, animal, birds, bees, or whatever, so on. Uh, but for him, for a pure devotee of the Lord, it doesn't matter to him as to what body the living entity is situated in. He only sees the spiritual nature of the living entity, And talking about knowledge in three modes, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, talking about the knowledge aspect, he says that Sarva Bhuteshu Enekam Bhavamave Mikshate Avibhavam Vibhakteshu Tadjnanam Satvikam Srutam. He says that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. That is the knowledge in the mode of goodness, that when we see all living entities in their true spiritual form and not based on their bodily designations, then we can say that we are in complete knowledge. And the knowledge, then we can say that we have knowledge in the mode of goodness. And this is also very again very famously said in the 5th chapter verse. It said, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihasini Shunicheva Supakecha Panditaha Samadarshanaha. It says that the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So, a learned sage, a devotee, sees all the living entities in the same manner actually. So that's how Prahlad Maharaj also say he did not distinguish based on bodily designations. And his father Hiranyakashipu, the famous Hiranyakashipu, asked him, how come you're acting so powerfully? Everyone actually fears me. When I raise my eyebrows, even the demigods tremble in fear. But you are such a mere little boy. You're nothing in front of me really, but you're acting as if you don't really care about me. Where are you getting your strength from? And Prahlad Maharaj says that the soul. Please know, my father, that the source of my strength is also the source of your strength. You are thinking that you are so powerful and all that, but please be aware. Please know that the source of your strength is actually the Lord Himself, right? And He's also the source of my power also, right? He says in 789 that, my dear father, please give up your demonic mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised towards everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. So, Prahlad Maharaj again is emphasizing on the point of seeing everyone with equal vision, right? He says that only then we can come to the point of worshipping the Lord perfectly. Right? Someone asked Prabhupada, so your God is Krishna, is it? Krishna is your God. And Prabhupada immediately stopped him and said that, Krishna is your God also. You may not know whether you accept it or not is a different thing. He may come in different forms and in different times and circumstances and things like that. But the fact is that Krishna is the God of everyone. That's a vision of a devotee. So what this means practically to us is that do unto others as you would like to do to you, as you would like them to do to you. We treat everyone equally, just as how we want to be treated by them. And Krishna says, Esma nodvichite loko, loka nodvichite cheyaha. In 12th chapter, he says that one who does not put other living entities into difficulty is dear to him. So this quality is very important to us. And no doubt there will be some level of discrimination between our own family members and other people. But such discrimination should not be to such an extent that we simply ignore other people completely. Uh, if other people are in difficulty, we should not be indifferent to them. We may not be able to give our whole entire wealth, for example, if they are in difficulty, as we would if it is our own family member. But at least we should try and do something to whatever we can do to alleviate their suffering or pain or whatever. So, to that, because the one of the qualities of the devotee is also that Vishuddha Ashayaha, the devotee is broad-hearted in his approach, right? So that's a very important quality as a devotee that we should cultivate ourselves. And as we know, when it comes to preaching, as you know, there are different two types of devotees. Bhajananandis and Goshtyanandis. Bhajananandis are those devotees who are satisfied with their own bhajan, really, and Goshtyanandis are those devotees who are who get more pleasure by preaching the science to others, right? So. And in our movement, we follow the mood of a Goshtyanandi, a mood that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj emphasized on, and it was again emphasized by our own Prabhupada also. That we want to preach this science to others. That's our mission actually. It's not that we only want to be benefited by this knowledge and be happy with it. No, we want to distribute it to others also. And since we benefited from the benevolence of other devotees, we also want to extend the same thing to others. For most of us, the reason why we are sitting here is because someone at some point of time gave time to us, shared their knowledge with us, encouraged us in taking up this process, encouraged us to chant, encouraged us to associate with the devotees in so many other ways. you know so we benefited from their behavior. So in the same way, we should also do the same thing and try to benefit others also by distributing this knowledge to others. So, and preaching does not only mean talking, giving classes or anything like that. And just by our behavior also we can preach. And by being the best devotee that we can be, that is also a form of preaching. By our vesha we can preach, just by wearing dhoti, kantimala, and tilak. When people see us on the roads, they say Hare Krishna to us. They don't even know us, right? So through our vesha also we are preaching. So in this way, there are many activities that we can engage in. Decorating the altar and preparing nice garlands for the Lord, cooking prasadam for the devotees, pointing others, for example, to our center and tell them that this is where we are located. Come and take darshan of the Lord and associate with the devotees. There's a small Grantha article that came up in there's a forum called Grantharaj email forum. Her god sister, she wrote a nice article about the service of pointing fingers. She gave some examples of devotees in the scriptures like Kabanda in Ramayana, how he served the Lord just by pointing his hands in the right direction. So just by us telling other people about our center, for example, or about the programs that are held in various places in Singapore, also we can, that is also a way of preaching actually. So in all these different ways, we can preach. So in this way, we can mold our lives, by which we are always serving the Lord and His devotees to the best of our ability. Then we can also develop this vision of equality, and we can progress in devotional service in that way. And I'll end here. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Balakrishnan Prabhu, for a nice class. You realize that these verses that Srila Prabhupada gives purports for, they're very practical. If you were to read these verses when they are translated by, non-devotees, and you read this section of the Bhagavad Gita, section 6, chapter 6, you find that it's actually very, very technical. And the challenge very often is, how do you apply these technicalities to daily life? But when you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, you find the purports actually translate the difficult esoteric ideas or abstract ideas into practical behavior. That's why you find in chapter 6, for example, Prabhupada is speaking about not being envious of others, of serving others. And yet, when you look at the technical nature of chapter 6, it's all about Ashtanga Yoga, which to a jnani will be very different from how we are actually being given. So that's why Bhagavad Gita has to be very practical. And this is a very important part of our devotional service. So let us all rise now for the Arati. And today we are just a few days away from the beginning of the Kartik Mass. So on Thursday, 21st, we will actually start our first program for Kartik Mass. And I think the slots will be open very soon. And we invite as many devotees as possible to come to the center and light lamps for the pleasure of the Lord. Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai Ki. I know it's difficult because we still have regulations about singing, but you can sing in your heart, you can clap, you can dance within your own space, nothing to stop you from doing that. But all of this is an offering to Krishna. Jiva Jayo Jayo Gaura Chande Arati Kashobha Jahanavi Katha Vane Jagamanalo Jahanavi Katha Vane Jagamanalo Bhajivadaki Ninitai Cha Megadadhara Jivadaki Ninitai Cha Megadadhara Nikhate Advaita Shri Vasachatadhara Nikhate Advaita Shri Vasachatadhara Jiva Boshi Ache Gauracha Ratna Simhasana Jiva Boshi Ache Gauracha Ratna Simhasana Arati Koiro Brahma Adi Deva Bhane Arati Koiro Brahma Adi Deva Bhane Jivanara Hari Adi Kori Chamaradula Jivanara Hari Adi Kori Chamaradula Sanjaya Mukunda Mahashu Koshadikaya Sanjaya Mukunda Mahashu Koshadikaya Jiva Shankha Bhaje Ganga Bhaje Bhaje Karatana Jiva Shankha Bhaje Ganga Bhaje Bhaje Karatana Madhura Me Danga Bhaje Paramarasana Madhura Me Danga Bhaje Paramarasana
Madhur, Madhur, Madhur bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur bhaje. Shankha bhaje, Gandha 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 bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur bhaje. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nithai Gaura, Nithai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nithai Gaura, Hari Bol. Jiva Bahu Koti Chandra Ji, Madana Ujjwal. Jiva Bahu Koti Chandra Ji, Madana Ujjwal. Kala Dese Vanamala, Kure Jalamala. Kala Dese Vanamala, Kore Jalamala. Jiva Shiva Shuka Narada, Vivekadana. Jiva Shiva Shuka Narada, Vivekadana. Agahati Vinodane, Gorara Sampada, Akati Vinodane, Gorara Sampada. Jiva Jayo, Jayo, Gora Chande, Arati Kashoma. Jiva Jayo, Jayo, Gora Chande, Arati Kashoma. Jaya Gora Nitai, Gora Nitai, Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, Vastyatya Satarine. Namaste Saraswate Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, Vastyatya Satarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Holy names हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotra Sat Sriman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotra Sat Sriman His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki. ISKCON founder, BBT founder, BI founder, Bhakti Kalachetra founder, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Shri Shri Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की. श्री वृंदावन भूमि धाम की, श्री मथुरा धाम की, श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की, नीलाचल पुरुषोत्तम चित्त जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, चक्रतीर्थ वामन चेत द्वारकपुरी धाम की, गंगामयी की यमुनामयी की, श्रीमती तुलसी वृंदाई देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की. जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की. जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की. जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की. हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र युग धर्म की. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की. निताय गौर प्रेमानंद. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Before we chant prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, we want to all dedicate our prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev specifically for the protection of all the devotees in Bangladesh. Many of you would have heard about ISKCON Bangladesh. At least one of our temples there was attacked yesterday or early this morning. And in fact, we do know at least one thing is confirmed, that one devotee, Partha Prabhu, actually left his body. And many other devotees were quite seriously injured. They attempted to actually burn Prabhupada Murti, and they attempted to actually, ransack the whole temple building. But somehow, by Krishna's mercy, the rest of the devotees are all right. So we want to all pray to Lord Nrsimhadev. He is the supreme protector. Sometimes we live in a difficult world. There's no one to blame, but it is the age of Kali. The forces of Kali are so strong that, hate is visited by hate. But as Balakrishna Prabhu so nicely pointed out to us, all this is based on envy. So we should be very careful on how we present this philosophy. But our prayers are very powerful. Let's pray for them. And let us all pray, that Lord Nrsimhadev will not only protect our life and limb, because that is helpful for us in Krishna consciousness, but more importantly, that He will protect our consciousness. Because at any point of time, difficulties may come. Most important is we should remember Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadadad. Hiranyakashipurbakshah Shilatam Kahanakala Ito Nasimha Parato Nasimha Ito Nasimha Parato Nasimha Yato Yato Yahamitato Nasimha Yato Yato Yahamitato Nasimha Mahir Narsingha Hridaye Narsingha Mahir Narsingha Hridaye Narsingha Narsingha Madhim Sharanam Pradpati Narsingha Madhim Sharanam Pradpati Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Abakara Kamala Vare Nakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Narsingha Dev Jaya Narsingha Dev Narsingha Dev Jaya Narsingha Dev Jaya Narahari 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 Jaya Narahari Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Nittai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Narsingha Bhagavan ki Jai Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki Nittai Gaura Premanande.
Spare a thought also, Prabhu said Mataji's, to all the Bangladeshi and Bengali devotees in Singapore. Many of them still do not have the ability to actually come out. They're still in the dorms. And today when I checked with Premanand Prabhu, just how many devotees have not been able to come out? It's in excess of 600 devotees. 600 devotees. That's many of our God brothers who are still in the dorms. So we must really pray for them, because just for us to come out and spend some time with Krishna and the devotees is so nice. It's very difficult for them, So we really pray that somehow the situation becomes better and they should also come out. I will be having a class with them tomorrow, And I think, we should all extend our pranams to them because they have been the bedrock of all our programs. If you remember the days of our festivals and everything, no festival is complete without them, isn't it? So let us pray. We pray to Lord Nrsimhadev, for his protection and protection of our consciousness. So thank you for joining us. We will have a Kartik program. Raghunath Prabhu, it's on Thursday, right, Prabhu? 21st? Right. So 21st, we have a program. I want to really thank Sumit Prabhu and Raghunath Prabhu. They have formed a really nice, dynamic team, and we are filling up the slots quite well, actually. We still have slots on weekdays, I think. We have slots on weekdays. Even if you can't fill up, but you have 2-3 friends, you want to bring them to the center, let us know. Get a slot. We will have the Yashoda Damodar deity. We will have the lamps ready. We can arrange many things for you because we want to serve you in this month. Somehow or another, bring as many people. As Balakrishna Prabhu said, just pointing the finger, towards a temple or Krishna, how nice it is. If we can just get someone to light a lamp in this Damodar month, how wonderful it will be. So thank you very much. Now I think it's time for us to leave, right? You'll all had your prasadam. Krishna willing. Tomorrow morning, is it Umesh Prabhu who's taking the class? Yes. Huh? I believe it's Umesh Prabhu. Umesh Prabhu will be taking the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Come and join us here so that we can all, enliven ourselves on Srimad Bhagavatam. Or else join in the lecture online because we have that facility available now. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thai Gaura Premanand.